Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the eighth episode of Country Liquor to Classy Champagne. Today, I have very two interesting guests with me. On one side, I have Vivek Agarwal. If I can call him maybe one of the founding fathers of EdTech of this country, because he started e-Gurukul, which is one of the first EdTech companies way back in 1999, 2000 when my other guest, Harshwardhan, I think, was not born at that time also. So, and my other guest is Harshwardhan. He is 17 and a half, 18-year old, now student, and he has completed his studies. He's very proudly known as drone boy of the country. We'll come to know about his story later in the episode. As of now, I'll come to you, Vivek. And as I was discussing with you, first of all, thanks for joining me. I think
Yeah.
20 years of your EdTech experience. Uh, if from experience perspective, it's I think multiple billion-dollar valuation experience. So, what do you think? How's been the EdTech journey so far?
So I think there are two aspects to it. One is my journey, and one is how the EdTech has evolved, which is roughly there's an overlap, like you said. But if I look back at my journey, I started in, like I said, in '99 when there was hardly any internet. Internet was just coming into this country and globally. I think the EdTech journey has gone through two cycles, three cycles. That was the start of the internet when I started, and for the next 7, 8 years till thousand maybe till 2007, 8, it was more of internet based, and then of course iPhone came, and then everything moved to mobile, and then mobile became the next big thing. And now it is AI, right? In the next last year or so, I think AI is going to be the big thing, and probably far more impactful than internet and mobile have been. So it leverages internet and mobile, of course. But I think AI finally offers opportunity to have real impact. Uh, the That EdTech actually has not been able to have. So far, I don't believe that EdTech has had the impact that it can. And we can go into the reasons, but I think the players like us who've been experimenting and working need to think harder, need to do more consumer focused, learner focused. Can talk more about it.
Okay, okay. No, so I think you made an important point on the using or leveraging AI as a technology, because that brings a lot of scale. Uh, I will come back on and we'll discuss in detail. Before that, Harsh, I think you have to let our viewers know your journey. 18-year-old, why you are known as Drone Boy, what you have done, what made you choose this domain. Share your story in your own words.
Yeah, thank you. So actually, I started my journey when I was 9 years of age, and like it was at that time, I was really passionate and interested in building something out of electronics and technology, and that was the starting point when I started this endeavor. At that time, I was like used to like break down toys and make something out of it, which is useful in our day-to-day life. And that has led me to create several different projects. One of my first project was a TV remote control home appliances system when I was 10 years of age. And at that time, there were no such technologies available in the market. And it was like magic for my parents. So they thought that like, do not push this child into like forcefully studying in school, but let him choose his own way in this particular sector if he likes to, because my dad is an accountant and my mom is an housewife. So I come from a very humble family. So they have like supported me by any means possible And when I completed 12 years of my age, I completed around 42 projects, 8 robots, and 5 drones at that time on different application useful things in day-to-day life or in commercial areas, in industrial applications. And I started providing those solutions to companies and stuff like that to just generate some revenue out of it. So I then, in July 2015, when this drone idea started, is when I was watching a video on YouTube that many soldiers were trying to detect something like a landmine in the field, and suddenly, due to not due to detection of one landmine made out of plastic, it actually impacted and exploded, and many soldiers were injured and died. So that was a demonstrative video, but after looking at that video at that age, I was really shocked that we don't have such technology, we don't have something to save those humans. Then I started searching on internet that do we have such solutions available with us, and shockingly I found something like we don't have such applications, or we don't have such technologies available in the market. We do have advanced equipment. We do have billions of dollars spending for defense, not only in our country, but in multiple countries. They are spending billions of dollars for soldiers, but still it is not that cutting edge because humans still have to go to the minefield and they have to detect those landmines manually. And the riskiest part is that the plastic landmines are not detectable in most of the cases. Most of the landmines are made out of plastic. And I started researching on landmines, like what are those explosives and stuff like that. And I found that there are still 110 million active landmines buried under the ground all around the world, and it would cost around 33 billion US dollars, according to United Nations, to clear all the landmines around the globe. And still, many countries are like still putting those landmines in the border areas and in conflict areas. So that was the time when this idea has come into my mind. But I was really small enough to take this amount of risk. But only thing which I felt at that time is I want to do something for humanity, because whatever knowledge I have gained through learning from internet, from reading books, I was spending 8 to 10 hours in cyber cafe with my grandfather at that time. So because I was not having internet at my home, so I used to do research, download PDFs of books, and then I read all the day in the cyber cafe itself. And whatever knowledge I had at that time, I want to use it for humanity. That was the first challenge I took, that I want to build something like this. I want to solve this global issue. But I was really small. I was not that academically, as they say, not that academically sharp enough, because I just completed my sixth or seventh. But at that time, I went to many companies that proposed this idea. I contacted each CTOs and CEOs of big companies. I found that their contacts from the internet, and then I shot an email, and then I met them at their offices. And most of them said that you're still a kid. First go and do your PhD and come back to us, and then we'll do something like this, because you are not capable enough to do something like this. And this is a global problem. You don't have to look into all of this. So I thought that if they have such an good establishment, if they have such an right resources and infrastructure, if they are not helping us to create such an project, then I took action that now I have to build something on my own. So I started my own company, which is Aerobotics 7, back in 2015. And at that time, I was the only employee of the company. And I have also joined some of my classmates just to increase the company size and stuff like that. But that was the turning point for me. And after that, while building the project, it was really difficult to build such a project. Technically, it was really hard because uh, no one has did anything like this. Many have tried, many have come up to some solutions for it, but there are no such technology as of today available which can accurately identify a plastic and metal landmines, even the ID, as we discussed with the Indian Army and many other defense authorities around the world. They still don't have such a technology in hand with them, like which can accurately detect it and even remotely without any human risk involved. So at that time, technically speaking, it was really difficult to develop, but most importantly, it was financial challenges. Because I come from a humble family, so even for small research and development, I could not borrow enough money from my parents. So what I did, like at that time, I started teaching my BTech and MTech neighbors in my colony, and I gathered all the students. I
No,
invited
so one second,
them
wait. So you said you were what, 15 years and you started teaching BTech and MTech students when you were 15?
when I was 12.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
So
hang on. No. I think this will take much more longer than I expected. So let me come
correct,
back to Vivek.
sure.
Vivek, you know, this is interesting. And I've been speaking with Harshwardhan for last now 60 odd days, and it gives me goosebumps. I'll will bring some part of his story. The one aspect which I wanted to discuss, which he was just going to mention, are no one is basically teaching robotics or teaching hardware. No one is teaching new methods of R&D. In fact, you and I, we were teaching how to learn English because the market is big. Now people are teaching how to crack competitive exams. Do you think after the success of Byju's and Vedantu's, is there still a market left in EdTech to do or to help people like Harsh, or so that they excel at the age of 15, 16, 14?
No, absolutely. I think the market is just getting started. See, I believe that if you look at the large edtech companies, they're mostly, you think about it, 100 years ago, the teachers would come and teach in front of you.
Yeah.
Right now, you have a video teaching you, right? Basically. So there isn't that much difference over the years, right? And I don't think our companies, the large edtech companies globally, have spent enough time focusing on the learning. Like, you know, let's say you take, let's say learning, you take this guy Skinner, who's a guru of learning theory, and he'll say you have to provide the right stimulus for the person to respond, right? I mean, and that can be applied to learning, but that stimulus is different for everybody, right? Now there is nobody knows what that different stimulus is. I mean, they're applying the same, gamification, same thing to everybody. One size fits all is the order of the day, right? And that is, and so there is nobody, I don't know if you know any program, I don't, who can say that, you do this program in this way and you will learn. I mean, there's nothing like that, right? The different people learn different paces, you can't, so really not much focus has gone into learning. Large companies, and I've been a part of that, so I'm not trying to be away from the system. I've been part of the system. We just created content as an industry and then gone out and sold it, right? And
Distribute.
whoever is able to raise more money and been able to sell harder has become bigger, right? That's the only difference. There's fundamentally no difference in the content that is created years ago or recently or even 100 years ago, because maybe I'm a multimedia, but the quality of teaching and is not research. It's not. I mean, there's no difference, right? So I don't think they're impacting the learning at a very fundamental level. I think that's one. And that work needs to be done. So the whole consumer work, that how does it work for the consumer? See, this our edtech industry, if you think about it, when I was growing up, right? when we were preparing for exams, it was all correspondence education, right? This was late 80s, early 90s. Then I think about 10 years after that, early 2000s or so, it's all become face to face. I mean, sort of physical, right? Face to face. You go to a center to study. I'm not talking about COVID. So I think the next step is logically digital. But that trend is not happening. I don't think any of these companies has displaced the tuitions market, for example. They've added to it. So what's happening is the good guys are, are doing more. They're getting better. The people who never had access anyway don't have access. I mean, things like Coursera and all, only the bright guys go to Coursera. People who I know who've done Coursera are people who are already bright and they're getting better. So I think the gap is definitely there. And there is a great opportunity there. That's the first part. Second, the education system itself. I mean, to Harsh's points, now somebody like Harsh doesn't need a regular, education system, right? He needs a different approach. And we had Google, which launched, about a few months ago, a 6-month program, digital program, the micro learning. So I think the whole industry has to change. There is nobody, for example, why does every subject for every person has to be taught in 35 minutes every day, right? I mean, that logic doesn't make sense, right? But there's not enough bold experiment around that, right? There is, there are huge challenges, regulatory and market. Are not easy, right? But I don't think there are enough bold experiments around that. I think so far, whatever I have seen, and I'm included in that, like I said, I'm not, is we've tried to do more of the same. We haven't thought big enough. We haven't thought innovative enough, right? And I think that's the opportunity now. And AI, I believe, fundamentally provides that opportunity because you can truly personalize learning now. I mean, you can deal with people's behavior, with emotions, with personalities, potentially with individual learning paths. I mean, now you can actually grapple and deal with those things. But it's hard work. And frankly, I don't see much of that happening. And that's, I think, where the opportunity is.
No, so this is encouraging, because to be very honest, being a part of a VC ecosystem, every week we get almost 2 to 3 EdTech startup pitch decks. And now when you are saying, and I'm relating it back, most of the are doing exactly the same stuff, which is either on the content or distribution. They are just saying, oh, we are in Bihar, we are in Jharkhand, we are in Karnataka. That's it. No one is actually solving that one person's problem. And then 1+1+1, there are 1 billion problems.
Yeah. And, why it's so, you can see it in, like you said, in the courses, but also you see the kind of people that are involved. I haven't met a single cognitive scientist working any company. I haven't met any psychologist working in any companies. What we tend to have done is we've taken the school teachers, the people who've been teaching, and use them to try and fit them onto the technology somehow. Now they're good people, but they've been doing one thing. We need new thought processes, right? And I think that's where the opportunity is.
Yeah, no, interesting. Harsh, on this point, since what we understand, you have largely been self-schooled or self-learned because at the age of 12, I'm not so sure how much of a help a regular education system have been able to, support you. So how you have updated yourself? Because last time when I heard you mentioned that you consult big companies like Tata's also. Is that true?
Yes, yeah. So actually, when I
Don't make
yeah.
all these statements, I'll die. But please, I'm so proud of, knowing you. But tell me,
Yeah,
so how do you
thank you.
update yourself? The idea is that, which is available to you and how can others take some learnings or, get some inspiration and reach out to the companies like Tata's and help them, consult them. And what are you doing with them?
Yeah, so actually, their management and their engineer levels of management trainees, actually, the Tata Management Training Center in Pune, we are in collaboration with them from last 2 years now, and where I'm providing them the technological as well as the motivational thing. I started with the motivational stuff before, then I converted it into transformation of business through technology. That was the topic when we started it, and they have also launched a very good project of digital education and digital classroom kind of thing in their internal organization. So we are providing them proudly the best we can deliver in the technological content.
Okay. And how was the experience meeting Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister of Israel?
Yeah, it was indeed wonderful meeting them and interacting with them, and they were really impressed by the project, the execution, and stuff like that. And it really pushes us forward by meeting those leaders of our country and of other nations as well. And that's actually propels us to forward in this journey so far.
Okay. And I hear that you have support from couple of top-notch business industries of the country also, who is supporting you in your endeavor of this company. Is that correct?
Yes, we do have there are philanthropists and Indian businessmen who are helping us continue our R&D, and we are getting a really good support from
But
them.
you're still very short of launching a
Yes,
commercial drone.
true, true, true. There are quite a number of things we have to get it done. Like the technology part is perfect, but the authoritative things and there are quite a number of things which goes underline and which we have to check, and that there we have to spend a lot of finances, especially into the demonstrating the technology, executing it, iterating it, and making it a final product which we can deliver to the ends. So the projects and the products, we are in the seventh prototype of the project, which we have successfully demonstrated with the Indian Army and CRPF. And that is where we got the turning point where they are thinking to even deploy the minimum viable product that we have. So that is where we are right now working on, and where we see a good opportunity here in India as well as in different countries.
Yeah. So, Vivek, I'll just give you a context, and I think I just wanted to pick your brains. So, a lot of money is flowing into, you know, I would not say, well, it's a same type of companies segments. If Pfizer got funded, the Vedantu, then White Hat, then a lot of Unacademy and all that. Now here is a 16-year-old guy who's actually solving a commercial problem, which is what $80 billion problem worldwide, and no one else. And there's one more guy who I think from Afghanistan, Afghan boys, who does that.
Yes,
But yes, but they
correct. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, the Netherlands one.
the Netherlands.
He's from Afghanistan. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
correct.
yes, yes.
There are two
But
brothers.
why is our ecosystem still not bold enough to take a bet on young people? Like, what do you think? Or is this just a business decision? What's your opinion, Dean?
So I think our ecosystem, the kind of the governmental system is not just not supportive; it's actively hostile to entrepreneurs, right? I mean, so we suffer, what somebody calls regulatory cholesterol, and there is a massive that is a big problem. The educational institutions are hidebound. The government systems are, I mean, our bureaucratic processes are at least 200 years old, and it's like they're like ossified in very age old thinking. So the system works actively against the entrepreneurs. and against, particularly, I don't know about large entrepreneurs, certainly about small entrepreneurs. So that's a huge part of the problem. And second aspect, I think, is uh, that we as entrepreneurs, and I don't know if it's linked or not. I mean, we've conventionally been short of capital. We are a capital deficient country. So, but I don't think we think big enough in general sense. There is a cultural thing that we tend to solve immediate problems. The whole jugaad thing that we somewhere, and I'm not. I mean, people like Harsh are clearly exceptions. So none of this Harsh is remotely applicable to you. But I think culturally we tend to be let me we have a more philosophical approach that ठीक है नहीं हुआ तो क्या बात है, we still happy. Then we are traditionally, except the last about 20 odd years when I started my company, failure or you lose a job, it was a nightmare. I mean, it was a social no, right? So I think we've come through from a social and an environmental context which is very challenging, and that's taking time, and it's made worse by like I said, environment that is not enabling at all. So combination of those. I mean, having said that, there are plenty of entrepreneurs that have broken through, built large companies, but I think it's more because of them, and despite the system, and not because of the system. Those are exceptions, not the rule. It's very hard to break through the I don't know, call it glass ceiling or whatever it is. But for an entrepreneur to break through that, which is why so few people actually break through, because.
So Harsh, as Vivek was saying, whatever you have done because of you yourself, not because maybe there is a support, obviously, of your family, of your. I'm not so sure how much academic or institution support, but largely your social support. So, but you are spending a lot of money in building the prototypes, because I know you go and you give demos to the majors and the generals of the army. So how do you support? How are you earning money basically? At the age of 15, 16, and if you can give the number, how much? If not, but how are you basically earning money?
Yeah. Uh, yeah, that's really the fair point and the right point, as well as it requires a lot of finances in this particular project. So basically, when we started off this thing, we were only like depended on philanthropist support, and then we got some government grant. And here I want to specifically mention that there were rumors in media like we got 5 crore rupees from Gujarat government, and that's actually not true. We haven't got 5 crore rupees of grant. It was just an MOU. Like if someone invests in a company around a 5 crore of capital, then government will give us some subsidies and stuff like that. So, but we got some grant. If I tell you the exact amount, it is 10 to 12 lakh Indian rupees, which is good for most of the startups and most of the companies, but for our intensive R&D, it is still very less. So we got a good support from the philanthropists, and they have supported us through financial help. And basically, that was the point when we started working on a good product. But it was only one-time thing. We have to continuously do intensive research and development, and that requires a lot of money continuously. So we want a recurrent revenue source, and that's why what we did, we started providing products and solutions to multiple companies, B2B, B2G, providing them the drones in different sectors, basically focusing on the education part as well, where we were used to give technological advancement in different universities, different companies like Tata Group, Honeywell Aerospace, etc. So that was the time when we started recurrent revenue. That was slow, but like gradually we increased a bit, and that is I would not tell all of the spending is from the revenue. Only 20-30% it makes out of the expenses that we do, but that is definitely helping us out. So these are the things where we tend to focus in the revenue
So,
side.
so Vivek, what I hear, even if you are a 16-year-old drone boy of the country, you also still have to struggle and find ways, or you are one of the founding EdTech company CEOs, you still have to figure out a way. So, do you think, have you started your company now? Uh, and I know the answer, but still, had there been any changes if you have started English Edge now in 2017, 18,
Uh,
16?
I, no, absolutely. I think, like I said, my lessons are, most of us take content and we sell, which you are familiar with, which is what we did. I think I would spend more time working with the consumer learner, figure out how they learn, why they learn, how they learn better. And that's a gap that I see in most edtech startups today. I haven't met many entrepreneurs who are working with the learners to help them learn, right? I mean, so that's what I would do differently. Secondly, I would think bigger. I would think harder, and I would think bigger, and I would focus more, right, on going after. I just wanted to comment on what Harsh said. He's clearly a very, very bright, talented person, but he's having to do so many things for very small amounts of money. I mean, it's ridiculous. See the problem. That's highlight the problem in our system. He should be getting, millions of dollars to build up his company. I think where Zuckerberg or Bill Gates or were, in the early college days. I mean, that's what we should be doing to people like him. Our system should be doing to people. But unfortunately, if he doesn't pass his class 12 CBSE exam, he'll not be able to get into any college in this country. I mean, it's crazy, right? I mean, that's our system. So he's bogged down, right? And I think, so I would think bigger. And personally, today, I know there's a lot of hype about India, but I would look at more global play. I'm to realize potential for any entrepreneur today. Uh, you would look global. More and more, as you're probably aware, entrepreneurs are setting up companies outside India because of the regulatory mess. Here, markets are very tough, from a consumer because it's a smaller market, but also because of all the things I mentioned. So it's a tough market, right? You can say tough markets need harder solutions, but there are also you can build much, and you have to think global. So my suggestion would be think global, think big, bet and focus, right? I mean, only thing I can say to Harsh, for example, he's doing this training and he's doing services and he's doing robot design. I mean, too many things, right? You have to pick up one area, one of these areas, whichever you like, and figure out how you're going to build a world's best company in that area. And because you've started on the right note, and years go by very quickly, right? So you have time on your side, Harsh, but it's not going to be forever. So
Correct.
focus and just go after one dream that you have. Think, how you're going to build that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
No,
definitely.
I understand what you're saying, but I think I think he's thinking big, he's thinking global, but that's what the endeavor which Hostel Fund is trying to do is help the student
I
community.
think
But
that's a
I'm not so
very good
sure.
role. I should have mentioned what you're doing that's exactly the support that people need at this stage to get their focus, get their vision big and bold, do whatever you do, be the world's absolutely best in it. Don't compromise on that, and that's what I mean. Absolutely, Ankur, you're doing a great job there. I mean, people like him are what going to transform the country. I mean, create hundreds of billions of dollars of value in very short time.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I get it. I get it. No, I think you're making I think each one of us have to play our role. And that's what. So Harsh, on the so what do you think? For you, for Vivek, I will definitely ask 10 years, 15 years. But I think for you, I I should not be asking what will you do after 10 years, 15 years. So what's your next 12 months and maybe 36 months goal?
Okay. Yeah, so actually, as the goal is been asked, actually, we are currently focusing on the Eagle S7, which is the landmine detection drone. What we want is we want to now get it ready, complete the second phase and third phase of the demonstrations. And once we do that, we want to plan out the execution and deployment in India. And yes, definitely it is very slow process, especially in India. But yeah, we are working with some global countries in different countries as uh, uh, we have got invitations from different armed forces because it's anyway it's a humanitarian cause. It is not ammunition business, so we can provide to one country because anyway it's saving lives. So it is going way faster there. So right now the key goal will be to execute it as early as possible and to get the right results that we want to see after the deployment of this project in the real field. That is what I'm focusing on right
I forgot to ask you, have you completed your formal education? Are you thinking, as Vivek was saying, to get that certificate of 12th class, 10th class, or does not matter?
Actually, frankly speaking, it doesn't matter for me especially, but that doesn't mean that I'll not pursue it because it is like my parents' dream. So anyway, I'll find a way where it doesn't disrupt my real thing, but I will see if I can find. But I have completed 10th grade so far, and after that, I have focused all my energy and effort into this, and I hope that it will definitely come out really well in the education side, I'm telling. So we'll get a certificate definitely. I am confident enough into that if I pursue my education in this particular segment or sector in
No, no, no.
robotics.
We have no doubts. Not even an iota of doubt that will not. It's just that that regulatory thing that you might have to go
Yes,
and show to the government departments that you have a 12th certificate.
correct.
That's what I meant. So
Yeah,
great, great. So
that is
Vivek,
true.
closing thoughts. And to be very honest, after meeting people like Harsh, it really motivates me personally, and I think that as a I as an individual, as a community, we really have to help not only from a financial, obviously financial plays one role, but from mentoring, from giving, opening the doors for them, because maybe that's where we come into the picture of our 20, 30 years of work experience, where when he went to the CEOs, he said, hey, you are too young to even come to us. So what are your thoughts that what should we do to help the young entrepreneurs, or they just go and study and do a job? What's your advice?
No, I think you're doing it absolutely right because see, ultimately, mentoring and support and of this kind has to be. I think you need to provide a platform to the entrepreneur. You need to provide them access, but they have to draw on it. I mean, you can't force mentoring or support on anybody, right? So if you can provide, now it's up to Harsh how he uses the opportunities that you are providing to him or others are providing to him, right? So, but it's important that he gets exposed to the opportunities that are available, and that's where people like you play a great role. So, I think it's about exposure. It's about that's the main thing, and making him introduce people so that he can make his choices intelligently with all the knowledge and based on experiences of others who've made mistakes that he might make. So that's I think you're doing the right thing, and this is this can be transformational if you can find a few people who can emulate the big companies who all started at college, right? I mean, these days I think there is no young age, and as Hirsch is a living and you were going after the right set of people who can there's a study I was hearing about. I didn't read it. Somebody was telling me about 10 years ago or 15 years ago that there was a study conducted that who would be the richest person in 2025 or something. And this was in 2000, study was conducted, and they were talking about 2025. And that time they had said that, it would be somebody doing IT stuff, and he's not been born yet, right? So that means in 2025, the richest person would probably be, a 20-year-old. So I don't know what happened to that study or all that, but certainly the opportunities of value creations are moving down the age curve, and you're in the right space.
Great, great. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks, Harsh. Thank you, Vivek, for, I'm sure, the listeners would have picked up few points and would be motivated enough to do something of their own. Thank you.
So can
Thank
I
you.
just say one thing more to
Yes.
Harsh? So Harsh, just another thing I just want to share from my experience. See, you've done
Yes.
you've fantastic, brain you've got. You've achieved a lot already. Just don't let good. See, what will happen is you will get a lot of appreciation right now. You'll get a lot of people who will want to meet you, who will want to. Just don't get distracted by that, because especially in a country like India, all your time can be get taken up by that, right? And if you're working with the
Yes.
government, you'll keep meeting them without any outcome for years. It can happen. Okay, so
Yes.
stay focused on whatever your objectives are. Don't let good become the enemy of great, as they say, right? So
Yes.
stay focused on building whatever company it is that you want to build, because it's very easy to get carried away in all this adulation and the
Correct.
attention that you get, right? But stay
Correct.
focused.
No, fair point. Fair
Definitely.
point. I
Thank
think
you.
I think that's at young age, it's always, and that's what and to be very honest, Vivek, in fact, I wrote some time back on my LinkedIn also. Uh, for people like us, you and me, more than the money, we also have to teach or maybe expose the young entrepreneurs the softer skills of
Yeah.
this journey. That's very important, which I think, how to be humble, how to respect the promises which you have made, how to treat
Yeah.
other people is very very important. ये कोई education नहीं सिखाता.
No, no, don't depend on our education system. It's not going to get you very far. Uh, just find your way or find another system that gets you there, right?
Thank you.